There are many reasons that you would want to be strong. And I'll tell you this, uh, you really have to set aside the whole idea of vanity, of wanting to look a certain way. Forget the aesthetics, forget all the ego stuff. There are far more important reasons why you would want to be strong. Okay, so this is what I want to discuss. And for me, just to give you a little bit of context, I don't go to the gym. I don't partake in 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 the gym whatsoever. I don't throw around weights. I throw around my body weight. So what I do is I do calisthenics, and I like to do outdoor workouts because for me, I like the idea of, excuse me, getting some sun, being outside, taking a break from being inside industrial buildings. And so I like to get out there, get some fresh air. It helps me relax. So I've taken to doing strictly body weight workouts. And that is my way of trying to get as strong as possible. And so the most important thing is finding out what it is that you're into, right? But for sure is everyone should try to max out that aspect of themselves, right? It's how strong can you get? And not for any other reasons other than this. Um, so I used to be very weak, very um, weak, mentally, physically, spiritually, just broken down for many reasons, right? But I think um, I didn't want to be that way anymore, right? And so that's where the journey begun. It was shortly after high school. I was about 19 years old. I started, getting into working out. And so that was my first glimpse into what the body could do, the possibilities, the potential, right, of maxing out your genetics, right, in this case. And so that's how my sort of story began. But it all stemmed from something deeper than that, something more profound than that. And for me was that I never wanted to feel like a victim. So when I was in high school, I was on the way to class, and this I have no other way to call him this, but a Neanderthal, this scumbag, sucker punched me from behind with brass knuckles, right? Um, you know, and so I wasn't expecting it. And anybody, if anybody could relate to that, anybody ever gotten sucker punched, you're not expecting it, right? So you're not even like prepared for it, right? Physically, right? So I wasn't like in a position to take a punch, right? And so immediately, whatever, I was bleeding profusely. I mean, this scumbag almost took my eye out. So I think ever since that day, I wanted to make sure that I never felt like I was in a vulnerable position like that ever again. Because if I could describe that feeling, it's almost like the closest thing that I could think of, right? And I'm not trying to minimize it, right? But it's the closest thing that I could think of for a man is to, it's almost like getting, like, R asterisk PE, right? I don't want to say it, but that's what it felt like, right? Because I didn't even have the opportunity to defend myself, right? And so that always stayed with me. I never wanted to be in a position where somebody could do that to me. And so that was where the whole idea of wanting to be strong as possible was from, right? So that that wouldn't happen again. I would never let that happen again. Um, and so from that, everything came downstream from that, right? Was knowing that I was never gonna allow myself to be in a position like that where someone could do something like that to me again. And yeah, it all stemmed from there. And the thing is too, so going back right to why you would want to ultimately want to be as strong as possible is that the funny thing is that you're not actually doing it to get physically stronger as opposed to getting mentally stronger because taking yourself there on a consistent basis for a certain amount of time is without a doubt immeasurable in terms of what it does for you mentally. Uh, because I've been on this thing, I've been consistently working out for years now. And it's like people think like, oh, it must be easy. It's like, no, it's never easy. Hardly ever do I want to go and train. Hardly ever. There are very few days when I do want to go. But I go anyway. And that's the thing is like it's not even an option. I go regardless of how I feel. And I think sort of where the mental gems come from, right? Is that you realize it's something that you can do regardless of how you feel. I mean, I guess some people would call that discipline. I just really enjoy suffering. I really enjoy taking myself to a dark place on a consistent basis. Um, I like to think of it as my way of appreciating the little things, right? I remember one time I was on the way to go work out and I wasn't feeling it. I was in a bad mood. I was being a little weenie. I was just being lazy. I just didn't want to go. I look over to the right outside the window and I see this girl in a mechanical wheelchair. And I think to myself, like, damn, like I have this luxury of being able to go do this leg workout. Even if she wanted to, she couldn't. Right. And it was like, I don't know, it just sparked something in me to just think about the fact that I shouldn't really complain because it's like I have all my faculties. I'm able to really take advantage of this vessel, right? And so it's the least I could do. Frankly, it's the least you could do. It's the least anyone can do is to put yourself in that position, right? The other thing is if you really want to know who you are, you should prove it to yourself because at the end of the day, working out and trying to get as strong as possible is really like one of the last few things that you can conquer as a man. There really isn't much else left, right? But to conquer yourself. And so you should do it. You should do it just for that. For no if no reason alone, just for that. And whatever comes from it from there is fine. Like if you end up looking physically imposing, then so be it. Or if you end up looking really good with, in your outfits, like so be it. But the vanity is it's not a priority. It's not like I for me in particular, like strength training is not for the fact that I want to look a certain way. Perhaps it was in the beginning, but now I realize that it's so much more important that I put myself in a position to always struggle. I just love and enjoy the idea of pushing myself past those mental blocks that I have, right? Of I'm not feeling it today, but I'm gonna do it anyways, and then it ends up being something more than I expected. And so I come away with something from that, right? I take something from that. So I think if you're struggling with training because you see it as like, well, I'm hoping to get something out of it, right? Some external validation or some play from some girls or some women, then I think you're missing the big picture, which is that you really want to turn yourself into a monster mentally, physically, and spiritually. And what you end up looking like at the end is kind of downstream from that. And so I just think that you shouldn't lose sight of that part, right? You should want to get as strong as possible for yourself, to challenge yourself, to really see who you really are. Because the reality is, like for example, I'm at the park. There's no one there. There's no one to impress. No one, frankly, even cares if I train every day. No one's asking me, "Hey, are you going to the gym?" Like, no one even says anything. No one comments on like, at least for me, no one's really commented on my body, save for like a few men that would be like, "Hey, you're looking kind of big or whatever, or you look strong." But I mean, that's not really it. So if you're waiting for accolades, you're going after the wrong things. You really have to look at this as like an opportunity to prove to yourself that you're something more than you uh than you were before, right? And you come away a different person as a result of pushing yourself day in and day out. Because for me, I mean, aside from the few days off, I mean, I train every day. I train every day, and yeah, it's not even a thought anymore. It's just part of the routine. It's like brushing my teeth or getting some sun or having a laugh. I mean, these are just like things that I do every day. So that becomes part of it. So perhaps maybe put that in your mind that it's not like, oh, I need to create some regimen. It's like, no, this is life. You need to be spry. So anyhow, if you're in any doubts about why you should want to get as strong as possible, I hope this dispelled some of your doubts and has convinced you of the fact that you should use strength training as an opportunity to strengthen more than just your body. The residual effects will be felt. Just stay consistent, stay with it, regardless of how you feel, and you'll see how you feel. At the end of it. But yeah, I hope this helps, and I'll see you on the next one.